For obvious reasons, Canada is at the top of the list for hundreds and thousands across the world who are considering moving abroad. Those thinking of buying a home there might have to put their plans on hold, as the North American nation has placed a ban on foreigners, preventing them from buying residential properties for 2 years, except a few specified categories of foreigners who stand as exceptions to this new rule. With the dawn of 2023, the Canadian foreign buyers ban went into effect, banning non-Canadians from purchasing property. This ban was made under the Prohibition on the Purchase of Residential Property by Non-Canadians Act. Under this act, non-citizens, non-permanent residents, and foreign commercial enterprises are banned from buying Canadian residential properties. The new act didn't come alone. It came along with a fine of $10,000 for whoever violates it by deliberately helping a non-Canadian make a purchase. Even though this seems really terrible, it's not all bad news, especially for foreigners who don't have the money to purchase properties in the first place, and business owners who buy properties for business sake, as the law does not include recreational properties or larger buildings with multiple units. It basically places the emphasis on residential buildings. However, there are several exceptions to this law. These include landed immigrants, individuals with temporary work permits, refugees, and international students that meet a certain criteria, like owning properties valued at less than 500,000 Canadian dollars, or in many areas with a population of less than 10,000. This would include many resorts and vacation areas. The ban also excludes homes outside of the census metropolitan areas or census agglomerations. That is, areas that have a total population of at least 100,000, of which 50,000 or more live in the core area, or areas that have a core population of at least 10,000. Notably, information on this new regulation hit the ears in June 2022, but only came into effect on the first day of the year 2023. The argument that the ban is not an attempt at cruelty toward foreigners can well be justified by the many exemptions provided. It's basically an attempt at saving the country's real estate market, policymakers emphasize. Canadian legislators passed the law in response to soaring housing costs in major cities across Canada. Ahmad Hussain, Canada's Minister of Housing and Diversity, has surely risen to be the most recognized executive this season, owing to his position has said that through the legislation, actions are being taken to ensure that housing is owned by Canadians for the benefit of everyone who lives in this country. Much like a necessary evil, in an effort to curb sky-high home prices, the ban was put in place. Canadians and dwellers in Canada can well attest to the ridiculous hike in home prices for the past couple of years. It only reached new heights during the COVID-19 pandemic, spurred on by low interest rates and higher disposable incomes. Rents have also been on the rise, pricing many people out, especially in urban centers. Many lawmakers in Canada believe foreign buyers were responsible for this as they purchased properties as investments. The housing crisis became an election issue, something that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau promised to address during the 2021 election campaign. The desirability of Canadian homes is attracting profiteers, wealthy corporations, and foreign investors, came a statement by Justin Trudeau, according to a report by CNN. This is leading to a real problem of underused and vacant housing, rampant speculation, and skyrocketing prices. Homes are for people, not investors, he emphasized. A spokesman for Canadian Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland said in a statement that houses should be homes for Canadians to live in and not an investment asset for foreigners. Looking back at the roots, it's clear that this present housing situation in Canada actually began in 2002. It started with a significant rise in Canadian real estate prices from 2002, with short periods of falling prices in 2008 and 2017. Although it has swiftly been tagged the 2022 Canadian property crash, with many preferring to call it a real estate bubble. From 2003 to 2018, Canada saw an increase in home and property prices of up to 337% in some cities. By 2018, homeowning costs were above 1990 levels when Canada saw its last housing bubble burst. It really got worse in 2019 when Bloomberg Economics ranked Canada as the second largest housing bubble across the OECD. In 2021, the country reclaimed this position. Prior to the 2002 housing crisis, Canada's last housing bust happened during the early 1990s recession. At that time, the country was facing low commodity prices, a large national debt, a deficit that was weakening the value of the Canadian dollar, and a recession in its main trading partner, the United States. This took a huge toll on the real estate market as average house prices, adjusting to the inflation, declined continuously. In response to these negative trends, the Canadian government decided to make efforts to slow the growth of the real estate market and gradually reduce the prices, in order to cause the bubble to gradually shrink rather than burst. Before long, it was proven that the real estate crisis can be resolved. In April 2017, Canada's Federal Finance Minister Bill Morneau met with Ontario's Minister of Finance Charles Sousa and Mayor of Toronto John Tory in an attempt to find a solution. This resulted in strategies like a foreign buyer tax and speculation tax. In addition, the province of Ontario's Fair Housing Plan set in place stricter rent controls. Uninsured buyers were required to pass a stress test. This was done in order to see if they could handle a rise in interest rates. It's believed that these small remedies account for the reduction in housing prices that was experienced in 2017. The housing plan created by Ontario consists of 16 measures to help combat the growth of the real estate market and make housing more affordable. 5 years down the line, in the twinkling of an eye, prices declined again, forcing the Bank of Canada to increase the interest rate. The interest rate rose in what some would describe as an overnight hike. Mortgage rates also increased, but this time it was above 5.5%, putting more pressure on the borrowers. Yet again, inflation in the country accelerated tremendously due to the energy crisis, making the possibility of high interest rates reducing inflation bleak. Now, there are a lot of figures in history to Canada's current housing crisis. What you want to know really is how bad the situation is. Judging from reports and statistics, the situation is improving from what it was during the pandemic in 2020 and 2021. According to CNN, the rise in home prices reversed in 2022, with an average price of homes dropping by 13% from the peak of above $800,000 a few months earlier. With the Bank of Canada raising interest rates, mortgage rates have also gone higher. The government has stated that the whole essence of the ban is to bring down housing prices. The main question is, will it? Can it? Many real estate experts believe that the ban on foreign buyers, who accounted for less than 5% of home ownership in Canada, would not have the desired effects of making homes more affordable. Rather, they point to a need for more housing construction to meet demand. It's rather shocking that real estate experts don't have the faith in the government policies, seeing how it brought improvements in 2017. However, their claims seem logical. Here's what Brendan Ogmanson had to say. "I think it's very much a political policy more than an economic policy. A lot of the public has been convinced over the last few years that it's foreign investors and foreign money that are driving home prices rather than what's actually doing it, the low interest rates and very low supply. I think the government had to do something about the housing situation, and it's easier to pick out the foreign buyer as the target," said Vic Singh, an assistant professor in the Global Management Studies program at Toronto Metropolitan University, adding that the percentage for foreign buyers is small to cause any significant effect. Jenny Kwong, another housing policy critic, said that the law was missing the real culprits in the housing crisis, suggesting that the government should target real estate investment trusts or companies that invest in real estate for profit instead. Over the years, efforts around housing affordability have focused on reducing the demand, such as the foreign buyer taxes and restrictions. It's wise for the government to consider working on supply if results will be obtained. These were the words of Kevin Krieger, a real estate expert. The crisis and government solutions have brought much controversy. A working solution is what's required. The situation is quite interesting to watch because, as always, time will reveal the efficacy of the government policies. But for now, we would love to hear what you think about the situation, and we'll see you in the comments. Until next time.